There's a sandwich at a deli here in Connecticut called Gaetanos that is so good that I frequently drive 45 minutes one way just to get it. It's called the Kovac Special, only they say it with like an Italian accent. But I don't want to drive 45 minutes anymore, and this sandwich is so good that I had to make it for myself. And this might be controversial, but I think this one's better than Gaetanos. Let's make it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dishes and Fishes where I show you how to cook and set hooks. Let's take a look at the contents of this sandwich. So this recipe was inspired by Gaetano's Deli, but we're going to put the Dishes and Fishes spin on it. That's going to include our homemade Sesame Roll. One thing that we're going to add is garlic infused oil and garlic chips. It's going to have a balsamic drizzle on it, along with some cooked broccoli rabe and roasted red peppers. It's going to have a hand-breaded and fried chicken cutlet that would make your grandmother shed a tear. And the last key ingredient for this sandwich is prosciutto, which we're not making, obviously. So the first thing that we're going to make is a sesame roll that I also made for my Japanese McRib sandwich. It's kind of my go-to sandwich roll, but we're going to start with 1 tablespoon of yeast and combine that with 3/4 of a cup of warm water, about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Then into a bowl of a stand mixer, we're going to combine 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Then we're just going to give that a quick mix to get all of those dry ingredients evenly distributed. And with a dough hook and a stand mixer, we're going to begin to mix this on low speed. Slowly combine your yeast and water mixture until the dough mostly comes together. If you find that some flour is lumping up on the side, get in there with a spatula and just scrape it so it all mixes. And once it does, add 1.5 tablespoons of butter to this dough. We're going to mix that on medium-low speed until the dough comes together and some gluten begins to develop. And this dough should be stretchy and sticky, as you can see here. Once the dough is all together, we're going to put it into a greased bowl, and we're going to set it on our counter so it can proof for 60 to 90 minutes until it doubles in size. 60 to 90 minutes later, we have our dough. It's proofed, so on a lightly floured work surface, we're going to degas that dough and prepare to shape it. You can make 2 gargantuan rolls with this recipe, which is what I'm going to do, or you can make 3 smaller ones. So I'm just going to cut my dough ball roughly in half, flour both sides so they don't stick, and then I'm going to start by rolling the edges to the center, flipping the dough ball over, and then rolling it into a circle so it seals all the seams and you begin with a nice round shape. And once I have both of my dough balls sealed up and round, I will begin to roll them into a hoagie roll shape. If it's too sticky, feel free to add some more flour, and then just keep rolling these until they're your desired hoagie roll shape. Try to get the ends a little bit pointier than the middle if you can. And once they've reached your desired shape, plop them onto a sheet tray with a sill pad and give them one final last touch up to shape them up. And we're going to brush those with 1 egg white mixed with 1 teaspoon of water. This is going to add to the color of the rolls as well as allow something for our sesame seeds to stick to. So I'm going to sprinkle my white sesame seeds over the top liberally. I'll then wrap it with some greased plastic wrap so it can rise for a second time on my counter for 60 to 90 minutes. 60 to 90 minutes later, our rolls are done rising. These things are enormous and beautiful. With a razor knife or a bread lame, you're going to score from corner to corner of the rolls. This bread lame is kind of lame and dull and kind of deflated my rolls a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to mist the tops of the rolls with water before we put them into the oven, and we're also going to mist the walls of our oven, not the door, just the walls, and we're going to bake those at 425 degrees for 13 to 15 minutes or until they are golden brown and epic. These rolls are amazing. The water makes them nice and springy, but still crunchy. Set these aside until we're ready to build the final product. For our balsamic drizzle, we're going to simply just make a vinaigrette, combining 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar with 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Give that a whisk, set that aside. That's done. Easy peasy. For our garlic oil and chips, we're going to just go ahead and peel 5 to 6 cloves of garlic and mince them. When you mince these, you don't want to absolutely pulverize them. You want them to have a little bit of shape still. So make sure you don't mince them into complete dust or paste. Once I have my garlic minced, I'm going to get some oil heated over medium-low heat in a pan, and I'm going to slowly simmer my garlic. This is going to infuse the oil with delicious garlic flavor, as well as brown our garlic into these nice crunchy little chips that we're going to use on our sandwich. Next, let's prep our broccoli rabe. So when you buy broccoli rabe, you want to try to get some with like nice bunches. This broccoli rabe was kind of whack, honestly, but either way, I'm going to start by removing the ends of the broccoli rabe, and then I'm going to cut both bunches of broccoli rabe into thirds. This is going to allow it to be more sandwich size appropriate. And once I have my broccoli rabe cut into thirds, I'll put it into a pot where I will steam it. So to my pot, I'll add 1 to 2 cups of water to the bottom, get the lid on, and put that onto the stove. Steam that until the broccoli rabe is fork tender. Once it's fork tender, I'm going to shock the broccoli rabe in an ice bath just because we're going to use it for later use. So dump it into the ice, and once it's cooled, we're going to squeeze all of the water out of the broccoli rabe and put it onto a paper towel. As you put it onto the paper towel, try to spread it so it doesn't like all stick together and clump up, and we'll set that aside so it can dry. Once it is dry, I will separate it into a bowl, and I will drizzle it generously with that garlic infused oil, some salt, and some pepper, and that stuff is ready to go. This is also like delicious side dish anytime you like just want to eat. Now for perhaps the most delicious part of the sandwich, our roasted red peppers. You can do this process with a blowtorch as I've demonstrated in other videos, but if you don't have a blowtorch, you can do this in the broiler in your oven. So we're just going to set our red peppers on the top shelf next to the broiler until they start to blacken and roast off nicely in the oven like this. Be sure to take your time and rotate them. It's going to take about 20 minutes to get them done in the oven. Blowtorch is a lot faster, but I just wanted to show you another way to do this. And once they're nice and blackened and roasted, we're going to put them into a bowl and wrap those with plastic wrap for about 30 minutes so they can steam and the skin can be easily removed. 30 minutes later, I will remove them from the bowl. They are nice and soft, as you can see. And I'm going to take a spoon and I'm just going to rub the skin off the outside of the peppers so we're left with nothing but the sweet, delicious, red, tender flesh of these peppers. Once I have the skin removed, I'm going to take my knife and cut 3 to 4 sections out of each pepper. Make sure you dump any excess water that's inside the pepper out, but we want to try to keep these slices big because we're going to use these huge hunks of pepper to hold other contents of our sandwich. Once I've got them cut, I'll put them into a bowl with more of the garlic infused oil, some salt, and some pepper, just like our broccoli rabe. And we've got 2 delicious seasoned condiments for our sandwich. These things are absolute game changers on this sandwich. Oh my gosh, these roasted red peppers are insane. So now we're going to just build the top layer of our sandwich. So on a sheet tray with a sill pad, I'm going to just shingle my big hunks of roasted red pepper, and I'm going to top those with my oiled and seasoned broccoli rabe pieces, and you can go really generous here. On top of that, I'm going to use some mozzarella cheese. I'm using the pre-sliced stuff. You can also grate your own here, but don't use the pre-grated mozzarella cheese here. Make sure you use one of these. And this is the last thing that we're going to fire in the oven before we serve our sandwich, so I'm just going to set it aside until we're ready. For our meat for the sandwich, we're going to be using chicken breasts. You can use thighs too, but I feel like they get lost in the sandwich after you bread and fry them. So chicken breasts are a little bit thicker and you can taste them a little bit better, but the chicken breasts are a little bit thick. So we're going to start by just butterflying these guys. There's no need to pound these out. If you just butterfly them in half, they will reach the appropriate thickness, and this is kind of what we're going for. If you pound them out, they can get too big for the sandwich rolls too. And if there's extra fat on the outside of the breasts, you can also trim that fat off. So once my chicken breasts are all nicely butterflied, I'm going to set up a standard breading procedure station, flour, egg, breadcrumbs, and I'm going to get those things fried off. But not before I add 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese to my panko breadcrumbs. This is going to add some extra texture and saltiness. You can season these up however you'd like, by the way. I'm just going to go pretty basic here. So flour, egg, breadcrumbs. Make sure every inch of the chicken breast is nice and coated, and I'm going to pan fry that in some avocado oil at about 350 degrees. You can deep fry these if you're hardcore. Just get them fried off until they're nice and golden brown and reach an internal temperature of 165, and our protein is done. And these things are epic. Great for chicken parm, by the way, too, but they'll do fine on our sandwich. And speaking of which, let's build this thing. So we're going to start by butterflying our rolls, and you're going to want to toast these off. They're a little long. If you have a griddle, you can toast them on your griddle. I'm going to just put some mayonnaise on these things and toast them in my oven for a couple minutes. And then I'm going to broil my peppers and broccoli rabe and cheese in the oven for 2 to 3 minutes until the cheese gets all melty. And this is honestly the best part of this sandwich. I think this layer of flavor right here is absolutely incredible. You can eat this on any sandwich in your life and it will be bomb. So let's build this thing. So we're going to start with our toasted roll, and we're going to add a thin layer of prosciutto. The cold prosciutto will add a temperature and textural contrast that is quite delicious on this sandwich, followed by 2 of our crispy warm chicken breasts, followed by our red pepper, broccoli rabe, and cheese. We're then going to add our crispy garlic chips. This isn't what Gaetanos uses, but this is what Dishes and Fishes is going to use. We're going to follow that with a generous drizzle of the infused garlic oil, followed by a generous drizzle of the balsamic vinegar. This sandwich can take a lot of liquid, so do not be shy. Oh my gosh, just looking at this clip just makes me hungry. And then we're going to finish that with our top bun. You can wrap it in some parchment paper if you're feeling fancy, but I'm so hungry that I'm going to eat this thing right away. And that's it, guys. This sandwich is probably the best sandwich I've ever made, aside from my Japanese McRib. I could eat this sandwich once a week and never get tired of it. If you're feeling bougie, you can also substitute eggplant for the chicken. Look at this cross section. If you want a meal that's entirely homemade, truly rewarding, and it's guaranteed to be a showstopper no matter where you serve this thing, please make this sandwich. As always, tag me if you make this thing, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.